Lockdown Defense Sports Network and its content are fan-driven shows offering opinions and analysis for entertainment purposes only. Our commentary reflects personal views and should not be relied upon as professional, legal, or investigative advice. Nothing said on this program is intended to accuse, defame, or incriminate any individual or organization. Listeners are encouraged to verify facts independently and consult qualified professionals for serious matters.
You're now rocking with the best, the man that is often early but never wrong. I'm your host, Coach Defense, here to bring you another hit-making moment from the POV of me. NFL hot takes and news breaks, and I'm here to give you the real deal, live and uncut. We are on a Patreon exclusive right now, and I got some real detailed inside reporting going on here. There's not no, I'm not going to say her name, but y'all know. It's not nothing like that. But it's definitely hit making and news breaking. We're going to talk about the NFL referee conversation today. In a special segment, solo version of Ask the Ref, we're going to talk about exactly what's going on with the referee situation, the NFL Referee Association, the NFLRA, the NFLPA, the NFL itself. We're going to talk about it all, and I'm going to give you detailed analysis of what's going on. I got a source on the ground. Again, if you've been watching this channel, watching this network for a little while, at least the past year, you know who my source is, but I can't, I can't drop the names like I want to because I'll let you know exactly why. We'll get to that at the end of this. We'll let you know why I can't drop names. But my source told me a lot, gave me a lot of information about what the referees are going through right now. And what is going to be the rally? Are we going to see replacement refs this season like we did about 10 years ago-esque? In we call it the Fail Mary conversation when we had a collective bargaining faux pas between the league and the refs last time around. And that was an abject disaster. And they're trying to do some things differently, but it's looming. It's looming. The deal is going to be up in a little over a month with the current collective bargaining agreement. And they're at an impasse. They're at an impasse for real, and it's not looking good. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I'm going to tell you before we get into the brass tacks of it all. I'm going to break it down top to bottom. So, like I said, my source, I know who he is, told me a lot of what's going on the inside, and we're going to cover it all. We're going to get into it. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the referee replacements conversation. Are we going to see them in the league this year is the big question mark, or whether or not we're going to get the real refs or we're going to get replacement refs, and what's going to be good for the league. Again, if you were privy enough to be around the NFL in around about the 2013 era, I think I want to say 2012, 2013 era, where we had replacement refs for about a quarter of the season. And boy, oh boy, we were screaming, bring the real refs back so fast. I mean, it might make your head spin. It really might have. But yeah, so we added this impasse again. We're at this crossroads with the league again. And what is the conversation about? Where are they at with their negotiations? Where are they at as far as the idea of them potentially bringing in replacement refs, what they're going to do with that. So I'm sure you see a lot of that online, and I'm going to give you all the information here live and ready to go. So starting off with what we know as of right now with the replacement refs, right? What we know, there's no deal imminent. They are far apart in their terms. The referees want a certain pay scale and a certain fair marketing share with the league. They want to increase in that particular idea of it, and the league has a certain figure in mind, and the referees have a different figure in mind, and it's a wide margin. It's a wide margin between the two. The referees on this end of the spectrum, and NFL is probably about 40% to what they want, what the referees want. So clearly they're far apart in the negotiations, and like I alluded to earlier, the idea of the collective bargaining agreement deal expiring on May 31st of 2026. So a little over a month away, about a month and a half away from the deal expiring, and they're not talking. Just to be clear, it could be plain, they're not talking at all. So I don't know what's going to make them come to the table to do anything expeditiously, before the deal expires. But again, they had a consensus meeting in March, and they really haven't talked about it much since. And the league has been putting out feelers and putting out reports that they are ramping up the idea of having replacement refs come in sooner rather than later, in the event that they need to do anything from a contingency plan perspective. So they want to know exactly what they're going to be dealing with, the level of experience they're going to have with these guys, where they're going to come from, pool they're going to pull from, things of that nature. So they want to get them in early and don't want to wait to the last minute to, the air quote, throw them into a fire and hope that it works out, because that didn't work in the 2010s, 2012, 2013 timeframe. So what they're going to do in regards to replacement refs, they're doing it right now. I'm just going to put it plain. They're doing it right now, and they're not waiting. It's not a conversation where they're, sitting on their hands. They're already vetting referees to replace the current ones. They're already vetting these guys. So they're getting to the preliminary process of doing background screenings, vetting, doing all the preliminary stuff, paperwork, and all that jazz, and trying to fill the void of what they would be losing when it comes down to the referees. So, getting to the idea of more of what we know, like I said, the referees, the replacements have been contacted. They're going to be starting to train as early as May 1st of 2026, so a lot more lead time, like I alluded to. So they have that particular thing going for them. They're going to start to ramp up, do a lot of things, to get prepared for the season, like the real refs will be doing. Again, they want to have more lead time because they just don't want to throw these guys into the fire. They want to have them as prepared as they possibly can have them prepared to get ready for August training camp, and when they're officially on the field and have to do referee duties. So, and the NFL has even gone to the extreme of giving themselves even more leeway in the event that replacement refs are going to be on the field with this 1-year Rule 19 expansion, where they have more expanded replay authority, which means they can use the cameras, the New York viewers, and the New York officials watching these games, from game to game, to say that I can interject more vehemently to the idea of getting calls right. So it's almost like a babysitting aspect of it for these replacement refs. So where if the NFL league office and their officials in the league office in New York can get involved and make calls, to basically correct the errors that may be done on the field more so than they normally have the power to do. So that's a 1-year thing they have in place in an event that they have replacement refs. So that's another feather in the cap for the NFL to say that, hey, we're not going to wait for the NFLRA to get their life together. We're going to the ship got to move. We got to keep pushing forward. So if the NFL referees don't want to come to an agreement, guess what? We got this rule in place. We got the replacement refs. So we're going to continue to do business, and that's just the way they're doing it. So, but I will say, from the NFLRA's perspective, the NFLPA's on their side. They feel that the NFL referees that are currently trained to be NFL referees, because I will be honest, it's in a different environment, different ball game when it comes down to the idea of being an NFL referee versus a college, high school, whatever else league that you might be refereeing in. It is completely, utterly different to be an NFL pro official than it is in any other sport or any other level of football. So, that there is one thing. So the NFLPA is citing the idea that the NFL referees that are trained to be professionals have the player safeties in mind the most. They feel like that the replacement refs wouldn't have the player safety as the main concern, and they think that's an issue. So they're back in the NFLRA. They're standing in their corner in order for them to be able to reach a deal and facilitate an agreement some kind of way to get the referees back in house and get them on the field come the regular season. But we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, on May 31st, the 119 officials will be locked out on May 31st if a deal isn't reached before that date. And it's not looking good. It's really not looking good at this moment. So we'll see how things go. But, so what is the holdup? Like I alluded to early on, it's a wide gap in desired revenue. The referees are wanting a substantial pay raise. And the NFL basically came to the table and said, well, if you want a substantial pay raise, although we kind of want to meet you somewhere in the middle of that, or, leaning towards maybe 60, 70, maybe 80% of what you desire. But if that's going to be the case, we want a better and more revamped evaluation system. Because right now, currently, again, from my source, the way they do things from the NFLRA perspective, it is a seniority type environment. They have the officials that have the most experience, get the task of doing important games first, i.e. playoff Super Bowls, things of that nature. And they don't really, until you get a certain level of tenure with the NFLRA and in refereeing in the professional level, you aren't even considered for anything out of basic games and basic, I guess you can say every day or every Sunday game officiating. So they have that in place. So the seniority rules versus merit is what the league wants to change. They really want to be able to honor and support and reward referees, regardless of age or seniority, to say that I want to be able to put the best people that are performing the best on the field and use them in the most important moments of our league, and versus just having the senior refs going out there, your Hockleys, your Smiths, and things of that nature, instead of having them always be the faces of these important moments, whether people love it or hate it, because there's a lot of controversy around some of these refs out here that have been in the league a good while. They want to be able to reward a guy that is performing well on a merit-based system. So what that means is, let's say a guy has 4 years in the league versus, say, Hockley, who's had way more years of tenure, obviously, and he's more of a senior guy in that conversation. So if they deem or they grade Hockley at a lower grade than a 4-year guy, the 4-year guy, based upon merit, gets the important games versus Hockley getting just based on tenure. So they want that particular system, and the NFLRA is against it. They really want to keep the seniority rules in place, and that's an old way of doing things. They want to. The NFL is looking at it from a black eye perspective. People have been really complaining about the idea that certain officials or certain officiating moments they've gotten it wrong. We've seen controversial calls in the last 4 to 5 years, especially, that change the dynamics and change the outcomes of important games. We're not just talking, regular season week 1, week 2. We're talking, playoff berth games. We're talking actual playoff games. We're even talking about Super Bowls in certain cases. The call in the Chiefs Eagles game a few Super Bowls ago with the holding call and things of that nature, about how that affected the outcome of that game, just to name a few. The Broncos Bills game, when that catch/interception that happened, that whole thing, getting that call right. So the league wants to be able to basically reward everybody that's performing well in their eyes and put them in these key moments, versus just having the senior guys automatically get the call regardless of how they're performing. So if you have refs that have 12 years and they're just terrible, at this moment the referees association wants them to be in place, rather than a guy that's been 5 years in and he's been killing it. So that's where they land at the moment. That's where they at from an impasse perspective when it comes down to the idea of what they're doing and what they want in place for the next collective bargaining agreement to be signed, sealed, and delivered for the next, I guess you can say 10 years or so. So that's where they're at. In regards to the replacement refs, so where we're at in that space. So if they don't get a deal done, like we said, where are they going to do, how are they going to go about getting replacement refs? And like I said, they're already starting to get this going as we speak. So where are they going to be pulled from? Likely the college ranks. They're also going to reach out to retired former NFL referees in good standing. Air quote, my source is in that conversation. Like I said, I would break that news as we got into the video, but that they're pulling from those ranks. You got your defensive, you got your D1, your D2, D3, maybe some NAIA particular pool referees coming out of that, all for consideration. Now, the issue with that, because you would likely believe that, just from I guess you can say a rising scale when it comes down to referees, moving up the ranks, because let's say you're a high school ref and you move into the NAIA first, and then you go to D3, D2, D1. You're now in a D1 Power 5 conference, and you're working with the SEC, so likely you believe that the next step would be the league, right? But there's an issue with that particular aspect of it. And you will believe that because I moved up those ranks and I've been in refereeing, in the profession of refereeing for a while, I had the most experience to be able to move up to the league. But the idea of pulling D1 refs is going to be tricky. And again, this is coming from my source directly. The thing about D1 referees, especially in these Power 5 conferences, is that they likely have deals signed with their conferences already in place. So you have to make a decision. So if I'm an SEC ref, right, and I've had 10 years in the SEC, I got a binding contract with SEC, I get a certain amount of dollars, I get a certain amount of games to referee, I have a good situation going for myself. So if I get contacted by the league to say I'm going to come in for, hell, it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a season, we don't know. But we do know for sure that it's not a full-time thing, most likely, because we're assuming at some point the NFL league office and the NFL RA is going to get a deal done to bring the original refs back. So it's only a temporary spot. So do I want to sacrifice my SEC cushy job to basically take a temporary position, in a sense, with the league, just to get eyes in the league, which I may never actually ever work for the NFL? We don't know. But do I want to risk that? And a lot of people don't. I mean, just be honest. I mean, you just don't. I want to matriculate naturally, to get the call. Let's say my contract is up at some point and the league wants to bring me into the NFL RA, then fine. But by normal course of, matriculation, then I can get that done. But if that's not the case, and I only get pulled for a temporary job, and I could likely lose my defensive, my D1 job, then why would I take that risk? I mean, let's just be honest. Why would I do that? So getting the most experienced D1 refs are likely not going to be that could be the case. So that's the issue. That's the issue one. Some may take the risk, some may not. But again, if you're working a full-time job, you have a guaranteed salary, you're working and you've been there 10 years. And a temporary job to say, hey, you can work, this job may last anywhere between 2 weeks to 18 weeks, but at the max. And then you got to go back and figure it out with your old job. And maybe you can have your old job back, maybe you can't. Maybe they don't want you back. Would you do that? Most people wouldn't. So in that case, guys in the Power 5 conference, the really experienced referees are likely not going to get pulled from this pool. I'm just going to be honest with you. And that's definitely from my sources' word of mouth. He said that they're likely not going to, D1 guys, the most experienced guys, are not going to be the ones. So that's an issue. So you got your D2, D3, NAIA guys. They're going to be pulled from this pool. Again, retired referees that were, in the league at some point. They retired from the league. And they're no longer doing it regularly, but they may be in good standing. So you could get that, but you would like to argue that they're older in a sense. They're not young, 30-year-old guys in a sense. So that's another conversation. But just circling the wagon with this whole situation, the referees that we're likely going to get as replacements are not going to be top tier. And from a college rank perspective, the starters, the retired referees are one thing because they've been in the league. They know the nuances. They know what it takes. But that's a small number in comparison to the large pool of 100 referees they got to pull from these ranks. And like I said, the D2, D3 guys are not going to be as experienced. So you have to have that conversation in regards to what they're going to look like when they are on the field as referees. So you have that aspect of it. So, keep that in mind as this process goes on. And do you really want that as fans? So getting into the idea of what's going to happen, right? The likelihood the lower conference, the lesser experienced ref is going to be high. And then you get into the vetting process. So this is another caveat to this whole conversation. There's a arduous and really grueling process to be a ref, whether you believe it or not. You have a vetting process. You have to go through a referee combine. They bring you out to an arbitrary area, and they work you out like you do NFL players. They make sure you can move, make sure you can run, make sure you have the agility and the stamina to be able to work a full NFL game. That's one. They interview you too to make sure you have the acumen and I guess you can say, media training to be an NFL referee. That's another thing. That's one of the caveats in interview process. They go through a long interview process in that, and they do a background check. So you have to be on up and up. You have to have a clean record. You can't have anything that would be damaging from a PR perspective from the league. That's one thing. You have to pass the combine. That's another. And an interview process to go well for them to even consider you to be a ref. So you have to basically, probably pull in probably about 300, 400 guys and willing it down to about 100. And yet again, what is that going to look like, and who are these guys going to be? And are they going to have the temperament to be NFL referees? That's another thing. So again, it's if they approve, the logistics of life when NFL will begin. So if they get into the idea of being into the process of being an NFL referee, if they're selected, they are into the process of being a ref, and it's completely and utterly different than what college and other areas are like I said earlier. So we'll see how things go, but they're targeting to get these guys on the field by August, and they're going to start May 1st, just in the training aspect of it. Now, they could work a deal in the background with the NFL RA to get things done, and this might all go be smoke and mirrors. But which means this really sucks anybody that has a deal with a conference to say that I would jeopardize that to be a replacement ref. And then I go back crawling into my conference and say, hey, can I have my job back? And they might tell you no. But It's a detailed process, a whole different thing. They got to get into the idea of being trained in how to operate on game days, how to operate in training camps, how to operate preseason games, regular season games. There's a lot that goes on in this process that's going to be these refs are going to go through this grueling process in the next few months if we get to May 1st and they get on the books. But like I said, they're working all the detailed paperwork in the background now. So it's happening as we speak. So let's talk about what's the unsaid in this whole conversation in regards to what the NFL referees have to do and what the league has to do in order to be able to have this not be a thing. Because I would argue this, I'm for the idea of referees being paid. I am for that. We can have a conversation about full-time versus not full-time, in another conversation. But just dealing with what we know today, the referees are the most qualified. The ones that are in the NFL are most qualified to be an NFL ref. And like I said, the process is arduous. It's a very detailed, it's a very grueling process. So they've already gone through it. They already know the ins and outs. They know how to carry themselves, how to operate within the guise of the NFL. We already know that. So I think that's the best thing forward. But the problem here is that the NFLRA, outside of pay and marketing shares and all the logistic numbers that they really arguing over, at least that's what they're saying on paper, or what they're telling the media that the issue is. The issue to me and the underlying problem that the NFL and the NFLRA have is the fact that NFL wants to move a little more forward in the technology area to maybe have less, user error. That's one thing. And I think that the NFLRA wants to stick to the old guard of way of doing things from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And again, when things progress, you have to progress. So I think that's one thing that the NFLRA has to get in their heads. They have to keep themselves current. You can't do the same things over and over again and expect different results. You just can't. So what you have to do is you have to bend a little to get a little. And that's just weird. That's just the bottom line. You got to bend a little to get a little in order to be able to get the money you want and be able to meet the demands of people that are paying you. Let's just be honest. NFL is going to pay your salary. So what they want ultimately is going to be the thing that happens and drives this train. And that's the bottom line. So, just getting to the talking points of what's going on here. The NFL wants a significant jump in pay scale with the same system in place. The NFL is not for that at all. They want a significant jump in marketing fees and payouts with no policy changes in place. The NFL doesn't like that at all. Get into the idea of they want a more merit-based system. They want to have more technology to be able to get calls right on the field in real time versus having to apologize later for missing those, because that's a black eye on the league. The NFL does not like that. And mind you, I'm not a person that's going to sit here and cape for the NFL. I'm not. But I understand business. And I understand if I'm going to pay somebody to do a service, I want the best product I can get out of the money I'm going to be paying, especially if you want a significant jump in pay. I mean, we're talking, let's do arbitrary numbers. Let's say hypothetically they get paid $300,000 a year. They want to jump to almost $1 million a year. It's almost that significant type of a jump. Just not to give you the raw numbers, because I really don't know what the raw numbers are because I'm not in those rooms. I can read your report of what's online, but we all can do that. But just to give you an idea of what they want. So if I'm going to pay that kind of upscale money to you, I want to be able to have better product. And that's just what the NFL is at an impasse with the NFL Referee Association right now. So you have to be able to bend a little, get a little, like I said. So, like I said, they've been catching a lot of heat for officiating woes, and they want to seek a change in the standard order procedures. I get it. I do. And if the NFL wants to see more technology on the field to eliminate user error, and the NFL already opposes that. They want to keep the old guard way of doing things, let the referees be the end-all, be-all of calls. Again, a little bit of an archaic way of thinking, but that's the line they're drawing in the sand right now. And again, the NFL could withstand a lockout, but the NFLRA cannot. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar business. I'm sure the idea of having replacement refs, at least for a little while, as long as things don't completely go off the rails like it did last time, and with the early training, you hope that it wouldn't, they can withstand this. So the NFLRA might want to be honest with themselves and kind of bend a little, like I said, in order to get things done. Because again, if we get to the summertime, July, August time frame, and nothing has been moving, it's really a conversation of who really wants to work and who doesn't. That's really what it boils down to. Like I said, the NFL will likely only bend in this conversation if they get to the season and it's an abject disaster. Like the preseason, let's take the preseason for an example. If the preseason calls are just egregiously bad. NFL referees, the replacement variety, are completely and totally shit in the bed when it comes down to the idea of what they look like as professionals, right? Let's just say that, hypothetically. Then the NFL might be more inclined to meet the demands of the NFLRA, but you got to meet in the middle. It's a negotiation, ladies and gentlemen. It's a negotiation. You got to meet in the middle at some point. If I got a high demand and I got a low asking, I got a high demand, high asking price, and I got a person that's just doing the pain, that's really not willing to bend on what I'm giving you already. You got to find the middle ground. You got to find the middle ground. If I want $1 million and I want to give you 300,000, if 650 is gonna get it done, let's get it done. And again, and we'll bend and we'll come to grips with the idea of policy changes. Because I honestly and truly, I want to see the best referees, regardless of who it is. Because there's some referees that I just cringe on the idea when they referee my games with my team that I just don't want to see. It happened with me with playing, happened with me with coaching, happened with me as being a fan of my own team. It's just certain referees that when they show up, you just throw your hands up like, it's going to be a long day. You know it. And I don't want to see those guys on the field, regardless of how long they've been in the NFLRA. I want to see the guys that are honestly and truly the best and the brightest and going to get calls right, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the situation. We want to see accurate and correct calls. So I'm kind of with the NFL on this. When I hate to say that I'm capable of them, but it is what it is. Business is business. Right is right, wrong is wrong. So that's what we want to see. But like I said, you got to meet in the middle sometimes in order to get what you want. You can't get everything, but if you can get 40 to 50% of what you're asking for, then I feel like that's a win for both sides, in my opinion. So the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, who blinks first? And I think the NFLRA is going to have to blink first, but we'll see what the NFL does. And again, if the product is bad in the preseason, then they might have to come to the table and might bend a little in order to get them back on the field from the NFLRA perspective. But we will see. We will see how things going on. But that is the brass tacks of everything going on with the NFL referee conversation. And we'll see how things go. We'll keep you updated as I get, information from my source. That is different or more in detail to what I've given you already. I will definitely share that. But as always, man, if you're watching this on the free trial, if you watching this on a short, or you've been pointing to our channel, please, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Patreon channel. It definitely helps to support this Lockdown Defense Sports Network. We appreciate everybody. You can sign up for a 7-day trial. You can get all the exclusive content for 7 days. You can see everything you're getting. You get Hit Squad Unfiltered Patreon only content. You get everything on YouTube early, 12 or more hours before YouTube drops. It drops on YouTube. You get everything from a breaking news perspective, from the NFLRA perspective, anything referee perspective as well. I mean, it's a ton of legit exclusive content that we only drop it here on Patreon. So it's definitely worth the buy. Get in now, and it's definitely going to be worth your watch. So I appreciate everybody that's supporting us, holding us down so far. As always, man, hit that subscribe button on this channel. Hit us up on YouTube. Subscribe to the movement. Follow us. We got merch coming soon. I got some content I need to do for that. So be on the lookout for that. That should be happening soon rather than later. So we'll get things rolling. But as always, man, hit up the Hit Squad, Mike Dub, Real AG, RG, Commanders, Chiefs, and Charters Insider. And of course, hit up the Lockdown Defense Sports Network on all our socials and in every space. Like I said, hit us up on YouTube. It is free. Drop us a sub on that and help us get to that monetization level. We appreciate that. And we'll be back, next week. We're going to be covering the draft. We're going to be covering, we're doing a mock draft on Tuesday live. We're doing a live draft show on Thursday on YouTube. So check that out there. And I appreciate all the patrons that have been supporting us this far. And we'll keep things rocking and rolling for you and get the offseason, keep you updated, keep you informed, and keep you all the way locked in to what your team's doing in 2026. But in the meantime, between time, I'm your boy, Coach Defense. Until then, I will see you when I see you. As always, you got to step up to lock it down.